Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Joe Latte,
Present.
Robert Laraway,
Here.
Brent Peavy,
Here.
Carol Shannon here, Dave Torgerson.
Here. Gary Behringer and Paul.
Excused.
Excused.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Agenda's before us. Anything to be discussed? Okay. Accept that agenda with unanimous consent. Consent agenda. Any items to be taken out and discussed? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Latte to accept the consent agenda, seconded by Peavy.
Got it.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, all opposed say no. Motion carries. In the consent agenda, you'll notice the Lake Restoration Committee meeting that happened last week. And we got a bid from Savin. And it was within the parameters except for a few niggling details. So we're trying to work those things out. I understand that he just sent us back a counter, or at least a response to our questions. And they just got it today, didn't you, Tim?
Yeah, I saw it this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Right, so-
tonight.
I just want to prepare everybody that there's a possibility it could go out for a different bid if we can't come to an agreement on some of the terms. So just want everyone to know that. And also cityhood's been a topic on Nextdoor, and some of it's negative, which isn't bad. I'm not saying that that's bad or anything. However, it's misinformed.
Yeah,
So we have to make sure that we tell them exactly what it is that it really entails. And it's not a lot of detail yet. Okay, but we have to make sure that we're all on point with that. So that's all I have. And with us is Isabella County Administrator, Mr. Brian Smith.
Hello,
Hi.
thank you for having me on the agenda. I've been going around to all the townships and villages and cities and just trying to introduce myself. I think I've accomplished 12 townships already in the first 3 months. I've been here since beginning of December. Well, we just finished the audit. Presentation was done last Tuesday. We're starting the budget process. We're getting through 4 union contracts at different negotiation times. And we are looking at, I've established an internal building committee to decide what we're gonna do. We can't stay in rental units forever. And so we're looking at our various options on that. And so part of what I've been going out is I wanna meet everybody. I'm just, so if you see me, you know, and we need to have discussions about something of mutual interest, then you know who I am and I know who you are. I think that goes a long way to just establish that relationship. I think for too long, the county staff, county administrator didn't get out and meet people. And I think that, yes, it's the county commissioners that's part of their role, but it's also my role too. I need to go out and meet everybody. And so, because as I bring options and decisions to the board, I need to know what the local communities think as well. So I'm not trying to do it in a silo or anything like that. That's just the way I think we should be going about it. For too long, the county should have been more transparent on probably some stuff, and, you know, hence when things happen, like they've had over the last year, you know, immediately social media takes over and everybody assumes the worst and everything like that. So I just wanted to introduce myself again, and if there's any questions or anything that you have for me, I'm more than willing to see if I can answer them. If not, I don't want to take up too much of your time, 'cause I know you have a big agenda.
Anybody?
Don't be afraid, because I've pretty much heard it all. I've been to I've been to,
Been a punching bag, is that?
yeah, I've been to the Isabella Township was probably one of the more interesting ones. I even had people in the, gallery asking me questions, so it turned into a lot longer, but it gives everybody an opportunity to ask questions, and I know there's a lot of them out there and stuff, so. But, my role is just to kind of make it more transparent, any decision that's made, kind of this is where we're at. And.
What's the plan going forward?
With the building, with law enforcement, with everything.
All
Yeah.
that.
As I'm starting the budget process, we first need to know what building we're gonna be at and for how long. So that way I can account, am I putting 500,000 in rent or am I doing 600,000 in bond? And then I gotta look at internal staffing. I gotta look at the sheriff's department. Going through the union contracts, I'm starting to stabilize the workforce. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach. I got staffing, I got the building, and I got law enforcement. And I told the sheriff, I'm not gonna propose any additional law enforcement, anything like that, until I can show 10 years of funding. I'm not gonna do it just like, hey, we just got a pot of money now, or we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that, these little gimmicks and stuff. I'm done with that. It's gotta be some stable funding that I know that's gonna be directly allocated for him. And if I can get 2 officers this next year, if I can get something and slowly build that department back up. Is it gonna be a full 16? No, not for a long time. But I'm building the structure to slowly start getting that going. And so that is the goal on that one. When we're looking at the building, we're looking at 2 options. Are we gonna renovate the existing building, the 2.5 floors, 3 floors? What is the cost? And then also we have to look at what is it to build new? When you're dealing with the building that we have right now, it's just set up in such a unique way where all the windows basically are single pane glass. They need to be replaced. So that adds a lot of cost to it. So is it cheaper just to build? We own the land that's out there by the jail. And I'm not saying that's what the final decision is gonna be. We're just in those initial stages of getting the engineer drawings done. I have it pretty much done for the main building, for the old building, I should say, but what's it gonna look like for the new one and what's it gonna cost? And then I'll leave it up to the board of commissioners to decide on that one. So, but it's all gonna be driven by cost and does it make sense for the next number of years. The building itself is 50 years old, but structurally it's in great shape. But if you remember going in the old one, you got 10-foot hallways. And then you got the big beams that are coming down, holding it all up. So it makes trying to design your internal office space very different in that you're trying to shrink it into 6-foot, hallway, and then you're trying to do it. So there's just a lot of things that go along with it. But the glass would have to be taken care of. The roof is decent shape, would need some help. The jail, that is just a disaster. I gotta tear it down, but I need to have the sally port still there for the transported prisoners to get into a secure sally port, go into the tunnel and up and in. So what do you do with that building? So there's a million different things that needs to be looked at in the entirety of it all. But going back, the audit, we had some findings, which I'm not surprised. I've been here since December. The finance director, I got a new finance director or 2. She came on in January, so we're, my staff is, we're new, but she was a county employee, so it's not like she's coming in fresh. But there's a big learning curve. So the first 3 months were very challenging and time consuming to say the least. But I think, number of years from now, I think this is all gonna be behind us. I think we're gonna have a whole new, atmosphere around the county. Hopefully there's a new perception of the county. And so I'm very optimistic for what it's gonna be going.
Is there any issue with the jail and then your office being in Union Township and not in the county seat?
The only one who would affect would be the sheriff.
And
The
so
sheriff's
what happens?
That we would just have an office set up in the court building. He basically needs to have, we can put him in a broom closet if we need to, but basically for statute, there needs to be a location for the sheriff to be at the county seat inside the limits of Mount Pleasant. That would be the only one that would be affected by that. But everybody else can go out there. And they bought, years ago, they bought the 40 acres. So there's plenty of land out there. And just, again, deciding what makes the most sense. So it's, we'll know probably early summer. We'll have a plan for sure. And I've also got some bond payment structure. This is a little bit more defined and set versus that number that was thrown out before. I actually have actuals and different scenarios for the board to pick from as well. So I'm just laying out a lot of different funding options, locations options. What do we want to have? Who do we all need in the building and everything like that? Cause right now we got 2-3 people jammed in an office at different locations. We have the prosecutor in an area where it's not secure and crammed. And it's just, the employees have done this for, it was October 23. So they've been doing this for a long time. And, if they can just see the light at the end of the tunnel, that, okay, we can go another year and a half, as long as we know we're heading somewhere, but we can't continue. And eventually I'd have to find 50% more lease space somewhere else. And I'm gonna be paying $500,000-$600,000 in lease, and there's very few spots I can even lease from. And so it's the option to lease, I think everybody pretty much agrees that it's not sustainable.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
I did watch the audit and I saw that your unfunded liabilities from the pension jumped like 5 million.
Mhm.
Went from like 15 to 20. Have you guys thought about bonding out to get more to a level debt service then? Because I know you're gonna take a hit for MERS with that big jump.
We already know this next year, we're taking a $350,000 hit. It's gonna go from 2.7 to 3.1.
Yeah.
And so we already know that. Now, if the market keeps on going as it is, then we're still paying for the big drop in 22.
Yeah.
I know previous administrators, finance directors and boards have looked at the funding option, and they just felt that if you bond it all out, then you're subject to the market. So if it tanks, then you're having to owe back again and stuff. So it doesn't, it's like if I take out, let's say our liability is $70 million and I get a bond for $70 million. And if the market goes down 1 year or 2 years, then guess what? We got that unfunded liability we got to make up, plus that bond payment. So I think that's what kind of makes some of them a little nervous on going about that. But we did get some, negative comments, which, it happens. One that was only that required a letter to the state, which, considering everything that's been going on, there's no financial impropriety, no wrongdoings. Just one was more of a reporting stuff, and then the other one was not having policies or procedures in place. But the audit for that was very clean and no financial wrongdoings. And I always get the question, well, what happened to all that money? What happened to the money that paid for law enforcement? Most of it never really existed. In a nutshell, it was delinquent tax fund was being used to fund it. Fund balances being used to fund it. ARPA covered up a couple of years of it and stuff like that. So in reality, a lot of that money that was used to pay law enforcement was things that were borrowed. And now it came time to make it due, and the county just didn't have the money for it. So it's not what people want to hear, but it
is what it is this year.
Yeah. Now, all those decisions happened in the past. I can't go back, and that's why I tell everybody, I can't change the fact so people don't think we needed to leave the building, that it didn't, there wasn't enough asbestos or whatever. It's like, I can't go back and change. The only thing I could do is move forward. And so it's just kind of like, it is what it is. But
This is what you have to work with.
yes, sir. Yeah, but it's a great county, great community, everything like that. I think there's so much positive going on that, we'll get out of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it.
Pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you all too. Have a great meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Manager.
A few items to update the board on. Jessica's been working with a faculty member at CMU to come in and do an assessment of this room for our ADA request that we had come in regarding having an accessible hearing system. So that's, I think, tentatively set up for, next week, give or take, early next week. So that'll give us an idea of what type of system we need to pursue acquiring. I had a conversation with the individual who made the request, who wanted to be there so they can make it specific to his hearing aids. I'm like, no, we're gonna make it more general for the whole community to use if need be, not just one specific brand and style of hearing aids. Yeah. So as our village president discussed earlier, we received bids on the lake restoration project for Riviera Park. That bid was at $384,000 for roughly 12,000 cubic yards of material. Price was, in a fair range that we could, anticipate, that we thought was going to be good. There were some stipulations in the proposal that after talking to our attorney, there isn't a way for us to accept that proposal as was written from that contractor. So we've reached out to him with what the committee has asked for in terms of changes. That was sent out to him last Thursday, I want to say, Wednesday or Thursday. And he just responded today. I haven't had a chance to open it yet, but I will do that after the meeting and send it off to the Lake Committee people for them to review. We are currently accepting seal proposals until the 28th of this month for a 4-year auditing services agreement. We haven't went out for bids on audit in like 9 years, I think, at this point in time. So it was overdue. And I did reach out to Rosslyn Prestige, our current firm, let them know, we weren't unhappy with them. We certainly would like them to bid again. Just for transparency's sake for the community, we just felt like it's time to go out for a bid on that.
We've talked about it several years.
We've talked about it several years, and there's just been other stuff going on that, it's like it get pushed to the back burner. So in January, we were in court on a code enforcement case that we initiated the hearing on. Court found in our favor, gave the individual until April 15th to have the property completely cleaned and back in compliance with the ordinances. Brad Malley and I have still not had a chance to sit down and discuss what he would like to see change in our agreement for our annual plowing and maintenance stuff. I did offer to, let's pay this winter and then we can just deal with this before next plowing season, because they still have not sent us the invoice that was due in January. Like, that's 45 grand that we've got slated to go to you, so. He's in Florida this week. He'll be back next week. The meeting packet had a letter from the city of Mount Pleasant and a letter sent in return regarding kind of conceptually discussing a policing contract between our two organizations. Had a very productive, very good meeting with Aaron DeSense, our city manager, and Paul Laurie, the director of public safety, back in February. Everything looks really, really doable. That would be the next question on our end is, how are we going to fund that when it comes time to that? Delinquent property taxes were settled in a week or two ago. Last week. And then I'll be at CapCon for the MML the next 2 days. And on our website, since it was also discussed earlier, there's information on our cityhood work. We have the petitions now. They came in last week, finally. It's right on the front page. You can also access it by your government page. And I'm going to exit out of this and so you can see what's on said page. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, I got a presenter, you don't I? There we go. So we have I went back to the August meeting when I gave council the initial presentation. And I edited it down to just that presentation, so that presentation is there as well as the slide deck from that presentation. The updated map that we have from Row can be viewed by clicking there. Same boundaries, the only exception to that is the current map up here for the village is a straight line going north. And that property is entirely in the township, so the corrected map takes that little bump of that property out. It used to be Larry Resco's. Other than that, it's the same. The descriptions are,
So that map is, this map is incorrect?
that map is correct.
Is correct,
This is the newest one?
because the old one used to have that north-south line going
Straight north, yeah.
straight north,
That is
taken
not
out.
correct.
That was incorrect.
That was
Okay, yep,
incorrect.
that's what I thought, okay.
We put the letters to the township and the fire department on there. And then, the MML presentation that you guys saw, the LARA incorporation process. And, about 4 pages of FAQs. Covering why we're interested in becoming a city. What type of government are we currently? We have a charter. Other layers of government. Where all your tax dollars go. How we fund property taxes, what the process to incorporate looks like. Why did it take so long? Do we meet the minimum requirements? Does it mean we have to develop a sewer? What additional services do we have to provide? Difference between a home rule and a 5th class. Could this change my taxes and why are we looking at changing? So as more questions come in, I can update that and keep kind of a rolling list on our website. But that is available. I was gonna have it on the agenda next month to get your guys' blessing and kind of figure out how we're gonna go about the petition process. So with that, that is my report.
Any questions? No? Okay.
Actually, I do have one about the police. So it seems like it would be odd. I just wondered how we will present this. Having city police cars out here, how will people react?
Oh.
Confused?
So the thought that I had is at all of our entry points and a few other places where there are high traffic, we'll have signs similar to our, welcome to Lake Isabella, the, patrolled and policed or whatever by Mount Pleasant City Police Department. So make that, clear when you're coming into the community that Mount Pleasant PD has jurisdiction to patrol here. So
Perfect. Okay, good. That's important, I think. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Tim. LIPOA report, we didn't get anything, I assume. Nope. Okay, so now we're on to public hearing. Agenda item number 6, ordinance 2025-01. Rezoning of Cook property. Take it away, Mr. Williams.
really straightforward proposal before you tonight. It would rezone a 1 acre piece of property from Lake Residential 5 to ag to match the rest of the property owned by the Cooks family. We've had no comments, questions come in through email or the office, and this came to you through the Plan Commission, who held a public hearing in January and has unanimously recommended it for adoption.
We have already had a public meeting on this, right?
That's what we're doing right now.
All right. This is our.
Yes.
Okay, public meeting. All right, public hearing comes to order at 24. Any comments? Anybody typing in? No answers from the owl? Nothing? Because no one's here in the audience. Okay, so public hearings closed at 7:04.5. All right. Any questions for Mr. Wolf? Okay. No other comments? Seeing none. Public hearing is now closed. Let's go with any additional discussion. Do we have any? Okay, let's take some action then. Public hearing is closed. We have a motion. Yep.
I can do,
Motion,
I will serve a motion to accept ordinance 2025-01.
motion made by Shannon to accept ordinance 25-21 or 101.
Second.
Seconded by Bob. Okay, Larry, any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Joe Latte,
Yes.
Robert Laraway.
Yes.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Dave Torres.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Floor is now open for public comment. Coming in the owl. Okay, public comments closed. Let's go to agenda existing business, agenda item 8 on the backside. Ordinance 2405, backyard chickens. Okay, I'm gonna give you my overview of this and we can take the discussion after that wherever we want to go. There is a current, as you've read in your packet, state has gotten out of committee now. It's probably going to go into effect by the state that is gonna Bigfoot whatever we do. So my personal feeling about this is we don't do anything until we find out what the state is gonna do. Because I don't wanna go through all the work, get it out there to all the people, get everything organized and all that stuff. This is personal. This is what I don't think it's worth it. And then have the state come in and say, well, whatever you've done doesn't matter. This is the new rule. And the new rule is a lot less restrictive than ours. And we won't have anything to say about it. So
So if they did change it, it would supersede anything that we put in place regardless. Of what you're saying.
the way I understand it, it supersedes whatever we do.
Yeah.
I mean, Holland is out the window too.
Right.
Anybody in Michigan.
Page 4 of what they have so far, line 9 says it preempts all local ordinances. Cannot exact anything that's in conflict with that act. So we will have to follow that.
And they haven't fleshed it out very much. It just says 5 chickens for every quarter acre, up to 25.
Yeah.
No, all hens can't have a rooster. That's all it says.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if they'll add to it. They probably will.
Yeah.
But to me, I think it's just, we've gone so far on this. And
Right.
I was willing and ready to vote on it until they came up with that about a month or two ago. And I said, okay. But I don't want to get bigfooted. Do all the work and then have them come in and overrule whatever we've done. So that's my personal feeling on this. But it's open for discussion. Anybody else?
I would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean. You know, I think we had fleshed out a pretty decent idea over the last few meetings of what we would want to do, but. You know, and at the last meeting, we still haven't had any serious inquiries about people asking for permits for this, so. You know, I don't think that it's so pressing that we need to do that, especially if it's gonna be overridden in the near future by the state.
We have had people ask. To do it.
According to the document, it says their goal is September 1 to have it in place.
Yeah. Right, and so, I mean. People asking currently then. What, you know, I mean, you know, people are gonna be wanting to know what we're doing, and, you know, with the. You know, response that we had in the last few meetings that, you know, were in reference to this.
I guess there's 2 ways of looking at it. The way that I've articulated the way I feel, but I guess the other side of the issue is. Since people have asked, we could at least have something in place. And then get bigfooted.
Well, and that's my only concern, because we've addressed this and we've had groups of people here, if we don't. Do something and that doesn't occur until September and we don't know what's going on. between now and then, you know, what kind of, you know, I mean, obviously, that's a Tim and the office problem, because, you know, we don't get these requests, but, you know.
Well, here's the thing, though. They started this, the agricultural department started this in 23, beginning of 23. And it's like a hair and a biscuit to them.
Yeah.
They only had one per, now they've got 9 or 11.
They have 11.
And our representative, by the way, is sponsoring it.
He's a co-sponsor. He's also chair of the committee. It was referred to in the House. It hasn't come out of committee, it doesn't have a hearing, anything set at the Ag Committee. Regardless of what you do tonight, I would like to know how you would like me to engage with him on this bill tonight, because I'm going to see him on Wednesday.
Perfect. Tell them we want more. It's different for a resort area. To me, it's a big deal putting a chicken coop on the lake or not on the lake. That's a big deal. Now, because we can say whatever we want, but if they just say you can have, anybody can have it with a quarter size lot, you can have 5 chickens.
Right.
And I know we're not talking about a lot of people. But, you know,
Oh,
one wrecked car in your yard, still one wrecked car in your yard.
most things like that fall under, you know, like, I know any sorts of livestock, they have, you know, on state levels have stipulations on how far they have to be from water sources and things like that. You know,
And that's what the companion bill is. So there are 2 bills that are tie-barred together, which means they both have to pass for either one to be into effect. So
Yeah.
House Bill 4049 is the preemption bill. That says you can, as long as you have a quarter acre, you can have 5 chickens and up to 25 based on every quarter acre. House Bill 4050, the tie-barred version, or tie-barred one, then requires the Michigan Department of Agriculture to come up with GAMPs for it. So they're gonna run it under right to farm, which is probably the most offensive part of the deal to me, because
Yep.
right to farm is an affirmative defense for nuisance claims.
Yep.
And you know, those are going to be done in a way that local governments are not going to have, I think, a favorable outcome in terms of the regulations that the Department of Ag are gonna try and put into GAMS, is my personal feeling based on the things we've seen in the past in terms of GAMP.
Well, I like to. I suppose in an ideal world, I'd like to just have some people, our community is a little different than most.
Sure.
It's a resort community. It's not Mount Pleasant proper or even Holland proper. Oh, no. Oh. I still would like to table it until we figure out more, until Tim's gonna see our rep on, you know. I'm sure it'll take all of about 15 seconds of his attention, but at least we'll know. A little more than we know now.
Yeah.
Cause I don't wanna, Tim's worked everybody's worked on this, but Tim's retyped and researched and typed again and did all this. Just to have it.
so you were asking though, you know, what you would want us to present to him. Would you be able to just kind of give him the, you know, nutshell version of what we've already vested out, you know?
Yeah.
Cause that's kind of what our perspective is.
I think what I wanted to lean into you guys to see if you wanted me to take a hard position that, you know, this is not good, it shouldn't happen, or, you know, we realize it's probably gonna happen. Can we mitigate that damage by saying, you know, if you're a waterfront parcel, you know, that should have a larger parcel size than a quarter acre, you know?
Or at least gotta be 150 feet from the water. 100 feet from the water,
You know, stuff like that.
at least it's on the roadside, but then
You know, but
Good luck.
Just tell them that, good luck.
Yeah.
We're kind of split, you know, it's. Obviously, like our board's been split on it, we're, you know, instead of us fighting about it, we're just gonna let the state handle it.
Well, at least see what the state has to say and then move forward.
Cause whatever they do anyway, like you said, they're gonna trump us.
Right, we cannot make it any more exclusive than what they do.
Yeah, right.
No, now maybe there could be exceptions for different size community, different. I'm just spitballing, different, you could bring it up to him that, you gotta give the local community some say. You can't just say, oh, and if you got a quarter acre, if you got a half acre, you can have 10 of them.
So this is a little bit of a unique situation for me in terms of what we deal with. In that, as you know, I am the chairperson of the MML's Land Use and Economic Development Policy Committee. We've already reviewed this bill and we are opposed to it. And the Board of Trustees of the league, which I serve on, will affirm that tomorrow at our 10 a.m. meeting. So if I do testify, you know, it's a straight no from us at the league. Like this is total preemption, and we've always drawn a line, total preemption we're opposed to.
Well, see, to me, it's also kind of a slippery slope, especially if they're running it under the Right to Farm Act,
Yes.
because then what's next? Well, I have a pot-bellied pig, I'd like to keep them.
Wow.
I want goat milk.
Yep.
I don't wanna mow my lawn, they'll just chew down the grass.
Uh-huh, no mo may.
Hey, at least your lawn will be getting mowed at that point. I'm just.
Some lots are.
I know it's gonna be them guys, you know?
So
If
anyway,
we
that's,
get a herd, we'll share them.
that's what I would think. I don't know, I'm not trying to talk for everybody else, that's my feelings.
I don't think it makes any sense to put anything together and then have them tell us have to start over.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I agree, but I also agree with the fact that I disagree with the state just doing it carte blanche without giving the townships any kind of say or authority to mitigate it to some degree, depending on their community's needs.
But if we pass something, they pay for a permit to have the chickens, they build their chicken coop thinking they can have 6. Now the state lets them have 25, you know, now
And
they
the
gotta
coop's
put,
too small.
now they gotta add on their
Yeah.
coop already,
Yeah.
you know, and like, can we even charge money for a permit under
Yeah.
this House bill?
No,
No,
No.
so we probably have to refund their money for the permit?
that's,
It's a whole can,
complicated,
it's
isn't it?
it's a whole can of worms to. Let's at least, my feeling is, let's table this until we find out what they're going to do. If it's supposed to happen September
Yeah.
1st,
I agree with that.
then, okay, let's wait, to see what they say.
The
And
one-
I think, by the way, to be included with that, it's not just chickens, I think the honeybee thing's in the same ball of wax. To me,
I don't know. What else is under, what other House bills include other animals or?
no, but what I mean is, I don't wanna make a decision on those either, until we figure out what this one is.
Yeah. Well, those, they are separate, but
In our minds,
yeah,
that's in our minds, under the Right to Farm Act,
right.
Do you see bees getting incorporated into? No, so.
not in this particular one.
Right.
But
if-
then, don't we run the risk of saying, well, you let bees in there, why can't you let chickens in there now?
Well, we're doing that now, I mean, you know.
so if you do, I do need to bring part of that ordinance back though, because the bee ordinance contained the other changes in the animal
Right.
control code. About code enforcement officer and animal control officer. So that would come back next month as a separate ordinance, just dealing with that verbiage change we talked about last year that we needed to make.
Okay. Whatever the group wants. So,
I say we table or whatever we do with the chickens and
You
we
making a motion?
continue. Well, I don't know if I'm saying it right yet, that's why you're gonna help me. And then the second part would be that the honeybees, we
just we can table the chicken
Yep.
ordinance
table
first.
chickens.
So the correct thing would be to postpone, not table.
Okay.
Table brings it back to the same meeting.
Okay, don't wanna do that, postpone.
Or when the thing is resolved.
That's postponing.
Postpone.
Too, I think. I'll go look it up again.
You corrected both of us, we better stop talking.
Tabling is from Parliament, where you lay something on the table when the majesty comes into the chambers to be dealt with at the same meeting. Postponing is either indefinite, if you never want to deal with it again until a certain thing happens.
Okay, so I'd like to postpone, please, until the state has made a decision, is that the correct word I want?
I think so. A motion made by, Shannon to postpone.
49 is.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Seconded by Peavy. Clean up the language on the.
So the motion from Shannon, second by PB to postpone action on both ordinances until action has determined the outcome of House Bill 4049.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Postpone. Jim Learning.
No discussion? Let's call a roll call, please.
Okay. Robert Laraway,
Yeah.
Craig Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Joe Latte,
Yes.
Dave Jorgensen.
Yes. Motion carries to postpone 5-0. You included the bees in that, didn't you, Tim?
Yep.
What I did was I did ordinance 2024-05 and 04.
Correct.
Correct? Is that the right way
Yep.
to write it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Zoning court updates, that would have to be changed then too. No, I thought that was part of the,
No.
well, we didn't do that.
No, so this was brought to you in January, and I ran through all the proposed changes that have come out. Planning Commission gave it to you kind of in a big batch. You're gonna look at it over the month, and we're gonna talk about it in February.
Okay.
I didn't meet in February, so here we are tonight. There is a cheat sheet that walks you through the various changes. Most of them are pretty straightforward. There were a couple that were a little more, I think, controversy that you guys wanted to chew on and talk about. Those were in chapter 1234, accessory structures to residential uses. Would allow storage sheds on vacant lots and removes the requirement for matching materials in the LR1 district.
It's 2502, right?
Correct.
So we're just introducing this tonight or today.
Well, if you want to change anything, you need to do it before you introduce it, because once it's introduced, that's the one that's going to be in for your public hearing.
All right.
So, am I right in that we did put edits in there for chickens and bees?
That's not part of zoning.
No, got it. Okay. Thank you.
What we did
Page
do,
3 is ordinance amended, it's animal control ordinance is amended to allow for backyard chickens.
yeah, that's their fault. So the only thing we did change in that is because there was that conflict. Is we had said, you know, right now the ordinance says no livestock, animal, fowl, poultry other than household pets may be housed or bred in any residential district. We added unless otherwise allowed in the codified ordinances. So in the event
Yeah.
that those other two are adopted, there wasn't a conflict, so.
And the other one was. Commercial timber, I'm seeing.
Yep, we added that.
Which one is the sheds under?
1234.
34.
It would be on page.
Oh, yeah, page 29.
Yeah.
Allows for storage sheds on vacant lots. So they weren't unanimous with this one, were they?
No, members Gray and Simon were opposed to this specific clause.
Which, without having the whole readout there, does that mean on all vacant lots,
Yes,
that's on the water too?
yes. And that was primarily where they had the opposition, was that. And the counter argument that several plan commission members made, and the overall majority supported, was that, you know, we want to do things that allow people the full enjoyment of the lake and not have stuff over the vacant lot, you know.
Well, what if we made them, that you couldn't be, the shed couldn't be closer than 100 feet from the water? Couldn't be, has to be at least 100 feet away. That at least keeps it on the street side.
Is that what their biggest objection was to it?
Primarily, yeah.
That you could see it from the water?
No, they just didn't want it on the water, period, because the hypothetical scenarios that were running through their minds were, well, someone's just gonna stay overnight in there.
I don't think kind of do that already. On Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's.
And that's not right either. And then
You
they'll
know,
put their camper there.
We've chased that issue, you know, at least once a year, we have someone that
Yep.
wants to camp overnight on their vacant lot, and
Yep.
you know, well, we kind of are a little bit more permissive fireworks weekend, and we send them the notice, hey, you can't do this, you know, but.
Yeah.
I do know, like, you know, typically, Elaine and Kim Fox are here, they're frequent attenders of our meeting. You know, they own a vacant lot down in the south end, I know they are supportive of it.
Supportive of what?
Allowing a shed on a vacant lot.
Oh, yeah.
So there,
Why wouldn't they? Yeah.
you know, another option would be if it's over a certain parcel size too, you know. That way it has a greater chance to be tucked away and hidden than.
I mean, I understand both sides of this.
I could see it more if people were thinking that sheds would lead to other accessory structures too. They want to start building barns without without residents.
We know that, I mean, that's already, we went through that
Yeah,
before you were on the council with garages.
but
We want to put
I
garages
mean,
in.
a shed, you know, on a vacant lot, like, to me, that's gonna encourage people to have a lawnmower there and keep their lawn manicured.
Yeah.
You know, keep their lot cleaned up, even, you know, kids' toys, beach chairs, they're gonna put them in a shed, you know, that's gonna be better looking generally than stuff scattered everywhere.
And easier to cut your lawn than to haul something out all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I said, if people were kind of thinking if that was the way, well, you allow sheds, why can't I build a pole barn? That's a lot different.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be a permanent structure, it'd be something that you could, you know.
What a shed has to by its very nature be portable. Or you can't have it, correct? You can't have it on a
It'll
foundation.
be up to 272 square feet.
240.
240.
240. Oh,
Yeah.
No.
I think our ordinance.
10 by 12? 10 by 20. 200 square feet.
12 by 20. Is the max we can do a shed,
That's 240.
240,
yeah, I was gonna say, I thought you told me 270 the other day.
240. We changed it a decade or so ago, we went from 200 to 240.
That's a big.
Dave's getting a new shed, it looks like.
That's, no, but I'm saying, that's a big shed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's almost a 1-car garage. That's what I'm leading
My,
towards.
are you familiar with my property?
No,
There's, I hate to call it a shed because it's almost a building out there. And it's larger than that. Mine measures 16 by 17, which is 272 square feet. And there's a second story.
It predates the village.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
but the point is, that's what I think they were thinking about.
Yeah.
Not a garage, but 240 square feet, 12 by 20, with a second story on it.
Yeah, I could have an apartment in that building I've got out back.
Somewhere it says no second stories on sheds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have that already taken care of.
Well, is there minimum height on a shed?
Maximum.
Or maximum, I mean?
Maximum sidewall height, and maximum overall height, like 13 feet.
Well, that's second story.
Right.
You can do that.
Get a loft.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, mine's not.
See, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
We're gonna
about.
have a shed and a tree house over it.
Oh, there we go, cool. Well,
Because
yeah,
there was a fella down there on. It's not Channel, it's the first one past the park down there, South Park, first one to the north. Peninsula. Remember that fellow that wanted to build a
Yep.
big shed down there? We didn't let him. He wanted to store all his kids' stuff in it and,
The one that jumps out of my mind on Peninsula was the guy that wanted to bring the houseboat and live in it.
yeah, well, that was somebody else.
Also a good idea.
yeah.
Right.
We fought that one. We fought that. That was when you first started.
When it first started. My first big controversy,
Yikes.
ruining some poor guy's dream that he couldn't have a houseboat, to fix it up here and sail it down the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
All right, so at any rate, that's the only one that I have a question about, that I'd like to see. I'd like to at least have it be, okay. You have to be X amount of feet from the water, something, so it's a little bit less obtrusive.
And not in the middle of the lot.
The problem with that though are T-lots. I mean,
Yeah.
if you own a vacant T-lot, like if it's the other way,
Good point.
how are you gonna put it?
in the
There's only-
driveway.
In the driveway. You're gonna drive through your shed. You can still-
You just drive along.
No, I
from
understand,
there.
I understand.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So they already have to be 50 feet from a regular,
High water.
yep, and 35 on a T lot. That's what the current setbacks are for a shed.
I would think that you'd make it for sure, it has to be on like a skidded platform, like you couldn't,
Removable.
yeah.
Yeah,
There are those, for instance, if I buy a shed from Sam's and have someone put it in, they will only put it on a cement
Mm, pad.
platform. Yeah,
that's fine. I mean,
okay,
The shed itself has to be mobile though.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
You have to be able
Just
to
can't
pick
have
it
it,
up
just
and
can't have
move
it. Just can't have it put on a foundation or on,
wrap wall,
it.
something.
Can be
Yeah.
bolted down, yeah.
Yeah.
right, yeah, it's that way, it's still mobile, but it's on a pad.
It's got you later, so it's good. All right, so what do we need to do to these words?
Well, nothing. I mean, that was my. I guess I don't have a counter for that. I mean, I can understand guys, 4th of July, they set up a tent, okay, big deal. The kids are out, they're sleeping on the tent. I don't care.
And everything's pretty much cleaned up afterwards. I mean, we look good after.
I don't think you buy waterfront property to live in a shed.
Yeah.
Good point.
You don't.
I mean,
But people do strange things.
yeah, like that's-
There was discussion about limiting the size or tying the size to the parcel size. So if you were
That would be good.
under, an acre or 2 acres, you were basically 50%. So you go 120 square feet. And over an acre or 2 acres, you could have the full 240.
There aren't that many places on the water that have 2 acres.
No, there was a map under the,
I know, but I mean, all those are a lot bigger than 2 acres, some of those.
yeah.
And long, a lot of them.
Well, I guess it's like the Villa in El Camino who bought Shoemaker's lot. You put a shed down there now.
So that is different, so in here as well. We allow the street hopping, right, but only for garages.
And only garages off the water.
Yeah,
They have to be separated from the
Yeah.
water by the street.
yeah, correct.
Right. It's like my part, I
Yeah.
can't put a shed on my lake lot right now.
Right.
Even though it's all homesteaded, you
Yeah.
can't put the accessory structure on the waterfront.
Correct.
Yeah, good point.
You have two T lots, you just made just one. The narrow parts on the water.
So you got 25 feet.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I couldn't put mine anywhere close to the water, but if you had the opposite shape,
You'd have to put it laterally as far back as you could to the property line, probably. And the property line, it can be on the property.
2 feet from a rear, 8 from a side,
Unless it's a key line.
and then it's still 8 on the sides.
So is our question, are we concerned whether we're going to allow them or not? Or do we decide we want to, and is the next, we're looking at what it should look like?
Both.
So we haven't decided yet.
No, I
Okay.
mean, if as Tim's pointed out, we have to make changes now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So right now, there's nothing I need to know. I don't know where we are.
Okay. So you're just saying, are we gonna allow storage sheds on vacant lots?
Yeah, that's the first. Do we decide that we want to try to do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's step one.
That's the first step.
Yeah, because if we don't want to, then why are we talking about the rest?
Well, because that might change your mind as to whether or not,
Okay.
how big it is a big deal. To
I
me.
agree.
How big the shed is, if it can be 240 square feet, that's a lot. That's a big shed.
That's why I think the tying it to your parcel size had merit, so. You know, if you're on a regular platted lot, just a single lot or a T lot. You know, you can't put the big shed, you could do a 10 by 12. It's still a lot of storage,
Yep.
and you can put hooks on the side, put your canoe on the side or whatever. or-
is there something so like you can't get like one of the $200 plastic sheds at the Home Depot that are,
Yeah, we don't allow the side for it.
like royal molded?
No, the ordinance says the sides have to be vinyl, not resin. Vinyl or wood. We don't allow the metal sided sheds either, so. Do we allow resin? I think we do allow resin, yeah. we
I
do.
think we do.
There are some nice looking resin sheds, but there are some that are not nice. Like,
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
like
like
I
I
got
got
a
one,
1,
3, and 4.
crappy shed and put it on my lake parcel, that's the only reason.
We require wood, resin or vinyl in LR 1, 3, and 4. Not in 2, not in 5, not in airport, not in ag.
I'm with you. Should have to meet some sort of standard,
Right.
because like you said, you can get a team,
Yeah. I
you can
don't-
order one for $150.
Yeah, you don't want a $150 shed, someone, hey, we're partying here now.
Yeah.
They start up the generator and their music's playing and now they got a $150 lake house.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how that matters, how nice the shed is that they're partying at.
Will it blow away?
You know,
Good point. It won't be there.
It's not gonna, you're not gonna be impressed or, just because the guy partying from his shed's got a nicer shed than the other guy, it's,
That's true.
but that is something to consider.
But the
in
visual
doing
is
this.
important.
Because if somebody has a, 200 square foot shed, that can become a makeshift, weekend clubhouse for people that can't have, currently have, a home put up there or, which becomes another enforcement question as far as, how, I mean, I know how, but are we going to be able to police and enforce that kind of thing, if we start letting everybody put these on their vacant lots, you know. Not that I'm necessarily advocating for a nay, I'm just saying that is something to consider in this discussion that. Because you know, if we allow it, it's going to happen, you know, there are gonna be.
Oh, yeah, we're
There
gonna have
are
to
gonna be
set
people,
limits.
there are going to be people
Yeah.
camping out in these sheds, you know. Spending the weekends there and stuff because they can't have a camper on a vacant shed, I mean, on a vacant lot. But if they've got a 200 square foot, you know,
So. Clause C under that was, they have to meet the design requirements for sheds adopted by resolution of the planning commission. So that was part of that, was that they were going to set specific design standards for the vacant lots. The planning commission would adopt that by resolution. So you couldn't just go in and slap the,
So you'd have to make it, you'd have to
you'd have to
pick a plan, these are
Yeah.
the plans you're allowed.
So at our
or something.
January meeting, when we went through this at the planning commission level, like, we went and bought a shed design book, and we had multiple, shed designs in there that you can get them at Menards or Home Depot,
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it didn't meet that, they would have to come and get approval from the planning commission.
Yeah, we have to do something about. I'm not necessarily against sheds on the water. Or on waterfront lots,
I mean, if
we
it
should have a different standard for waterfronts than, no offense, Carol, but Carol's got about 5 lots.
7.
So 7, okay, that's 2 lots. Oh, she could put one in each one of those.
So land baron.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me. But the waterfront thing, I don't know.
But I think it's good that with what Brent said, I think the lots could be used better if they could leave their items here.
Yeah.
Well, I think that has merit.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that really is something of merit. It will make them feel better about, having access to their lot on a regular basis.
And paying
It's
property
important.
taxes on the lot,
Well, yeah,
and paying to restore the lake.
yes, for sure. So, yeah, I think we should be able to do that. It's just a matter of, I agree, size of the shed makes a difference. You don't want it to be the size of the property.
I think if the only issue is like the lakefront or not, I think. For one, there's only so many vacant parcels on the water, and for two, you think that. If you were investing that kind of money, paying those taxes. You put a dock and a boat there, you know what that costs,
Yeah.
you're not gonna misuse it, and. If they were misusing their shed, we could revoke their right to have a shed, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, how?
Is there a way to?
Yeah, so the way that we talked through this at the planning commission, one of the clauses was they can't be serviced by utility service, water, electric, that kind of stuff. And so it's gonna be not just the $10 shed permit, it's gonna be more of a conditional agreed on type permit, so that they're gonna have to sign off that they're not gonna do that.
okay, so they're gonna have to show placement and stuff too.
Oh, yeah,
So that it can be decided on a case by case basis. So I mean, that kind of
Yeah.
alleviates all of our concerns,
yeah.
Well, I'm glad that my shed's already got power and stuff to it, just saying.
It's not a vacant
Well,
lot.
you typically.
No, it's not vacant. It's a house with
Right,
it.
yeah.
They're driving the car right down by, they drive the pickup down there. Stack,
Well, and like I
stack
said,
3
that
cars
kind of-
down there on the waterfront.
I think it's easier, especially being that, like you said, they have to present basically a plan and show where they're putting this, on a case by case scenario, so that, one, they're gonna dictate what kind of, structure can be there. And two, if placement isn't advantageous to the board at that time, that can be dealt with, be like, okay, you can't place it here, but you can do it, further back on your lot or.
So could we add something to that then? Lots like, subject to size, subject to square footage of lot or acreage? I hate to use acreage necessarily.
I don't know why they couldn't have power. You gotta be able to see.
I know, yeah.
Here we go. Down the
You
slope,
said a payment.
down the slope, here we go.
It's a $35 availability charge.
get
to
your-
have
get your
power on
generator.
your lot.
Get your generator.
No, then you're.
I know, you already have power over
I
there.
know, it's $35 a month right now, I'm not even using any power.
Wow.
That's what it costs to just have a panel that
Yeah,
Wow.
well, hey, get a drop cord.
run across the street.
All right, you two, somebody's gonna be out to your houses, both of them. tomorrow.
I'm not even putting a shed over there anyway, I'm just,
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I don't know.
Does it say in here somewhere, I've been up and down the pages here, any restrictions, the size, anything, do we have that?
So sheds are limited to 240.
Oh, I don't want that size on property though, so how do we change that? Can we, except that you're, except if you're putting it on a waterfront lot,
Well,
or,
what do you want to change it to? Because again, I think you go back to if you're, pick a parcel size, acre.
Yeah.
You're limited to 50% of the 240. If you're over an acre, you could do the 240.
yes, I think we need to say something of that sort, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have a shed the size of a house, 240, that's pretty big.
No, the house have to be at least 500 square feet.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Hey,
Is
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, are you okay with that?
I am.
Anybody else?
Well,
Something else to add?
okay,
Say what the sizes were,
I just wrote down, 1 acre or less is 120, so half of the 240. And over an acre, you do the full 240.
Yeah, cause like you said, we've got that expensive a lot. That's an expensive lot. of
Yeah.
water.
an acre of waterfront.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
what's the significant difference going to be? Because even if they've got 0.75 acres, a 240 square foot building isn't going to be
You do a half acre then,
unreasonable. What's that?
do a half acre then.
You know?
I think you want to get over having a single lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So you gotta have more than a single lot to get the bigger shed.
I would agree with that, because otherwise it becomes big and they put it somewhere and then it's all gotta be moved if they decide to build and.
well, yeah, but they're supposed to be portable or movable anyhow.
Oh, good point.
So that shouldn't make a difference. You know, and I'm not trying to, create more discussion. I'm just saying, what we're talking about is limiting people's use of their land. So we're taking away their right to use their land.
well,
So we need to really discuss that and consider.
they can use it under our restrictions.
Right now, they can't do it at all.
Right, they can't have a shed at all, so.
No, they can't have a shed, but they can still use their lot to build a house on it.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, I'm sorry to be a little hardcore, but that's why you get a lakefront lot usually.
well,
You don't get there so you can have a shed out there, so you can say you got a lakefront lot on the weekends.
In part of the discussion too, I think needs to
Sorry.
understand the history that we had a decent percentage of our waterfront property that was non-buildable for 45 years of our community's history. And only in 2018 did we get all of that lifted. So we had a lot of things in here because people had unbuildable lots that they couldn't do anything with. And they were gonna try and come out and camp on it or whatever, because they couldn't build the house. Because there wasn't a permit available. Now they can.
Now they can.
That's what I was just looking at, those non-buildable lots. I was looking at their acreage, like what they are, on Peninsula and like.
All those are buildable.
Yeah, they are now.
Yeah.
But that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. That would be the area, that's where most of the vacant lots probably
Bingo.
are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I mean, if that's our concern, then simply,
I just think we restrict the
Vacant lake
size
lots are
based on the acreage. And then how far it is from the water. Still have to be, well, of course, you got the high water mark going.
Yeah, 50 feet.
Yeah, cause on some of those in Peninsula, that takes you half, you're
Halfway.
more, you're 2/3 of the way off the water already. Okay. So,
I mean, I was just doing the math, like you could do a 10 by 12.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nice shed.
Yeah, that's a good size
That's
shed.
not,
You can drive.
You
a
know, if you
lawnmower.
just wanna put, you know, your boating supplies and, you know, some stuff there to a lawnmower. You know, you can get it done with a 10x12, it's better than zero.
All right,
Two other things that are not in here that have come up that I wanted to run by you guys.
okay,
On that same page above it, when as we become more permissive with garages over the years. We used to say it couldn't be near the street anymore. We took that out. So you could build in front, but you had to leave at least half of the home basically visible from the street, so. You could put your garage in front of your home, but you couldn't do the whole thing. Well, we let you build a garage across the street from your home. To me, it makes no sense to keep that regulation in there. That you can't cover your home, but you can build nothing but a garage across the street, so I think that is one we can remove. And the other, we say in the ordinance that you can't put an accessory structure in the floodplain, but we don't say you can't put your home in the floodplain. I'd like to clarify that.
clean that up.
Yeah,
As long as we have an accurate floodplain, when I built it, they weren't going to let me build my house on Isabella Vista. Because they said I was in floodplain according to Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, you better be building an ark, that house is flooded,
Yeah.
because we're about 25 feet above. the
yeah,
lake.
floodplain maps are updated.
So that's the only thing, I don't like the floodplain because it's so nebulous, I had to go to Chicago for crying out loud.
Or at least provide an offset. You know, that's how we've always told people is, you know, if you're gonna do that, you have to provide an offset somewhere. So if you're gonna fill 3 cubic yards of floodplain, you've got to create 3 cubic yards elsewhere for that water to go. So it's a net negative impact on the floodplain in the community.
See, so you could take it back. Or put it on the other side.
I'm approved, to take out 75 yards, I got a dredging permit in hand. I'm good to go.
How'd you get that? What'd you do? You gotta tell
I'll
me.
tell you later.
Yeah,
I don't know, I think, if you can get insurance and you can build on the floodplain, I mean, that's on you, I think, but. I don't know why someone would wanna do that just with insurance rates.
no, but I
If
was
you're in the
talking about,
floodplain,
but I was talking about for a house, yeah, but I was talking about for the sheds.
well,
The floodplain's accurate. You know, that gives us, we don't have to say you have to be X amount from the water. You just have to be off the floodplain.
Well, the issue is filling it. Because if you fill the floodplain, then you're adversely impacting everybody else because that water's gotta go somewhere.
hmm,
Well, bring those back to me.
So is the planning commission going to look at this again or no? No, it's
up to
just us.
It's you guys.
Thank you.
No, he was gonna bring it back to us.
Again.
So I can bring it back to you with that language before you introduce it? Is that what you like?
Yeah,
Mhm.
there are a lot of people asking for that now,
What's that?
building shed permits on the lake. Anybody ask?
We've had a handful of people. Comparable to the number of people who want to do chickens.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
good.
just like to have some rules in place when they do it. I liked what we talked about though. All right, anything else about that?
Got it.
Okay, got that done? New business, resolution 2503.
Your first item on our new business is a resolution that would set the public hearing for the renewal of the Broomfield Township Special Assessment District for our fire coverage. We have it tentatively set for the May meeting.
Okay,
So this resolution needs to be adopted so we can do the mailing.
the resolution for us is to have it put on the agenda for the next meeting, for the May meeting. Have a motion to that effect? To adopt resolution 2503.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Peavy, seconded by
Second.
Latte. For the special assessment of renewal for Broomfield. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Brent Phoebe,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Joe Latte,
Yes.
Bob Laraway,
Yes.
Dave Torgerson.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2504.
Your second item tonight under new business is a resolution that would rescind 4 traffic control orders that deal with no parking zones. These were adopted in, I think, 2013 and 14, give or take. In front of Essex Park, Lincoln Park, Eagle Beach, and Dana Beach. We have seasonal no parking zones there that were done at the request of the association years ago because they did not have gates on their parks. They were concerned about trespassing from ice fishermen. This winter was the first winter in my memory that we did not have to issue any parking tickets to anybody.
Nice.
Now, the one on Lincoln Park. There's space to park there, though. People would still park there in front of the gate and along there.
Probably.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure that those ought to be removed. Or do you know, did you've given tickets there before, citations there before?
Not at Lincoln.
Yeah, you did it to one of my old football players, Sellers. He parked his truck there.
Not at Lincoln.
Where was it? It was on one of those places. Parked right next to the sign that said no parking.
That was that.
That was my guy.
That was that. You know, park, which is one that we're still keeping.
Yeah. Okay. You don't think they're gonna park there anyway?
I don't think it's a big issue anymore. I
Okay.
really don't. I'm all for taking signs out and it's less stuff to mow around, quite frankly.
Okay. Carol, entertain a motion.
I'll make motion.
Motion made by Latte to accept resolution 2504 parking zone removal.
Right.
Is there a second? Second by Shannon.
Sure.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Okay.
All in favor? No, no, we have to do this by roll call.
Carol Shannon, yes. Joe Latte,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brent Phoebe,
Yes.
Dave Torgerson.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. King's Disposal franchise.
So Ike reached out to me and asked if we would like to begin talks on a 2-year renewal. So we are in our second 2-year renewal with them from an initial 3-year agreement. From the conversation we had, it doesn't sound like there would be any really significant changes to the cost.
Are we restricted to 2 years by any reason?
No.
Or is it them? Can we do it for longer?
Just do
We
it
don't
for
have
however
to
long
do
we
it.
want, I think, at this point in time.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm very satisfied with their service.
Yes, I agree.
100%.
So if they wanted to have a longer contract, it wouldn't bother me at all. So. Does that meet with everyone else's approval too, if he extends it beyond 2 years?
Sure, me, yeah. Okay,
Yeah. Okay, so let's, you can contact them unless they have an objection to it.
Yeah. No, they're,
Okay, so let's do that. Let's, have a motion to accept King's disposal.
we have to have a motion?
no, right now you're just giving me the authorization to,
Okay, I
to go
thought
to
we
them.
had, okay.
no.
Not a separate contract, just continuing resolution then, or.
So I will meet with them and because I gotta come back with, the updated pricing, because I think they are gonna change
Okay.
the annual slightly. But not like the tag price or the quarterly price, because last time they bumped the quarterlies but didn't do the annual, so.
Okay, okay. I see, okay, good. Explore a longer contract too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way I think. Okay, agenda item number 4, fireworks discussion.
So as you know, sadly, Art Barr passed away last month. Art and his wife Robin were the owners and operators of Freedom Fireworks, who have been our fireworks partner for I think close to 15 years at this point in time. I did reach out to 3 different companies. Amazingly, 2 of them said that they could put together a crew for the July 5th night, which would be our Saturday, which is when we've traditionally done it, if we were interested.
And those are the 2 names you gave us?
Those are the 2 names I gave you guys. I haven't moved forward because when I asked for feedback from our council members, I did not receive
Unanimous consent.
no, I didn't receive a response from 4 of you.
You and I talked about it.
Yep, you were one of the ones I got feedback from.
Hmm.
So I didn't have direction at that point in time.
Okay,
There is a very limited space that we can do this, and it's going to be a smaller show. So it's going off the 70 feet per inch standard, which is what Freedom Fireworks did. A 6-inch shell requires a safe distance of 420 feet, which are all of these circles here. With the new home here on Fairway Drive, we are looking at really right next to the dam itself is the only place we're gonna be outside 400 feet on the berm any longer. And that's capping us at 6-inch shells. We did, most of our show has been 6, but we have done 7 and 8s in the past. We even did one year where we did a few 10s that were huge. Actually, there were 12s.
What about the other side of the dam?
We can't have access to it.
No,
We don't have access to it.
oh. I thought they had that right away.
It's for maintenance only.
Yeah.
Oh,
break something. Well, I think we have to consider, I believe we have to consider whether or not this is, if the juice is worth the squeeze on the fireworks anymore. I've loved them, I've enjoyed them. But we've dodged a bullet a couple times on it. In fact, we almost didn't have it 2 years ago because of the fact it was dry. I just think we have to consider perhaps it's run its course. That's my personal feeling. I don't want to do it just to do it. And we've had a little trouble in the last year or so of getting all the money in, which is not a big deal. I understand, but I'm just thinking we have to consider perhaps it's run its course. That's my thought on the fireworks display. Go ahead.
I would like to continue them. I think it's an important community event.
Yeah, key word there is community, because it's not just the village.
Right, yeah. Anyway, that would be my recommendation. And doing the 6-inch shells would allow us, and moving closer to the dam could still allow us to do it.
I would agree.
The one company in Colquhoun has a good reputation.
They do the casino.
Yeah.
They do it.
some really amazing companies that have that date open. You'd think that'd be a really hot date, especially this year.
Well,
Next year,
gonna
next
be
year
worse.
is
Even hotter, yeah.
Yeah, so
next
that's,
year's Saturday is the 4th and it's the 250th birthday of the country.
yes.
So
So,
it's gonna be a big one next year.
so,
So whatever we get, they got at least on a 2-year deal.
so we make sure we can do
Yeah,
it already
if
next
we're
year.
not getting it next year, what's the point of hiring them this year?
Yeah, good
You
point.
might as well sign up for a 2-year show.
I think the first thing to do, if you guys would like me to engage with either of these companies. I don't think we have time to come back next month with a formal contract, that kind of stuff. I would request that you guys give me the authorization to enter into a contract up to a specific dollar amount, provided that the insurance language is there. But the first thing would be to present that location to either company to see if they are comfortable doing it from that location. And if they are not, we really don't have a second option at this point in time. in my opinion, like,
You know, go ahead.
there's no other place we can do it, you can watch from the lake. We've looked at every park, we've looked at every vacant area around the lake. There just is not a space to do any type of significant size show on the water other than the dam. The fallback would be the airport. Can't really see that from the lake, because with the development around there, you're still
Right.
capped at 6-inch shells, you can't go bigger there,
Yeah, okay.
so.
You know. Hope College had somebody did their fireworks. When my daughter was in school there. It was a line of tubes, but they had to not have been within the, cause that's their campus or their football field's right there in town. So are there other companies that specialize like Tiger Stadium? I mean, what are they, it's right over a stadium.
Rock Lake there in Westburg had,
I'm just wondering if there's other companies that can do that, or they might be out of our league.
Oh, they had a platform, like a barge on the water.
Yeah,
Insurance.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just wondering, you know. But these are the only two that you found that were willing to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I just think.
what's the
we could
pleasure?
keep
How
going.
much? You wanna give them? Last year, they cost how much and how much did we raise?
We spent 17 on the show, another 750 on MMR, and we raised just under 8.
So we supplied the 10,000 then, well, $9,300, $9,250.
Right?
I'm not. I was sweating it for a while. Kind of expensive.
What?
He guaranteed it 1 year.
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, he guaranteed we'd have.
That was before
whatever
your fee.
people didn't pay, he would pay.
That's before he goes, hey, wait a
I
second.
said if the people don't know enough, then I'll make up the difference. Thank God they came through.
We were waiting to see what would happen.
I'm just saying, we typically try to raise half, and we didn't make half last year.
Yeah. Apparently somebody didn't give as much as they should have.
He gave enough in 1 year, so that's enough.
Yeah, that's true. They did cover us well. So I like the 15 is still a satisfactory show, we think. I think so.
Well, depends, yeah. Right?
I think so.
Yeah, cause we had 8-inch shells last year, didn't we?
Yeah,
Were they 8?
we had some 8, yeah.
So,
And
and
the cost is crazy different. So like a single 8-inch shell is anywhere from $210 to $350. You know, and you can buy 6-inch shells for $360, $60 a shell. It's like,
oh, wow.
you can do a lot more shells. Like
Okay,
our finale was all 6s.
Oh, it
I
was?
did 5s, yeah.
Oh, and it was very good.
But you can see on that photo, that's the height you're getting on a 6 primarily is right there. That's why I put it out. So this is. These are your big guys, these are your 8s, these are your 6s, these are your 4s.
Ah, okay.
okay,
All right, thank you. Just think we need. Do you need something official?
Yes, I do, if you're gonna let me sign a contract.
So is that like a resolution or, yes?
no, it's just a motion. So why don't you make the motion?
I've been doing a lot of that tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to move that we have Tim pursue
Fireworks
a
contract.
fireworks contract with the two people, or at least the two organizations with whom he has made contact already, setting an amount of 15,000. Anything else I need to say?
I think that's it.
I'll write that down somewhere.
Seconded by Peavy.
Oh, Mr. Peavy, thank you.
And I'm authorized to sign that, correct?
You are
Yes, please
authorized
sign.
to sign that, pursue that contract. Roll call, please, because it's a money vote.
Got it, a lot of money. Joe Lottie,
Yes.
Robert Laraway.
Yep.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Cheryl Shannon, yes. Dave Torgerson,
Yes.
thank you.
Addendum, see if you can hire a 2-year contract.
Oh, yeah,
That's a good idea.
that is an excellent idea.
Or at least an option for the
Yeah.
second year,
Yeah.
at least an option.
Yeah,
I don't know, tariffs are gonna affect that. I don't know if fireworks got whacked from China, but you'll find out. I
Well,
guess.
Yeah.
There's some people in Kentucky right now, I can do those in my pole barn.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of those fireworks come from Kentucky too, don't they? I think they do.
I don't know.
Tennessee or Kentucky.
Indiana, that's where they previously picked them up from.
Yeah, I thought they
Make
made
it-
it was made in China.
Well, they came from China.
just arrived in.
All right, lake patrol discussion.
Emu discounts.
Steve, along with your shed.
So the sheriff reached out to inquire if we wanted to do a lake patrol contract this summer. I was surprised that it was even brought up that you're gonna have staff to do this.
They still have the boat, but do they have people to put in it?
He thinks he's going to.
I was a little shocked. when
He thinks he's going to, or if we're doing a contract, shouldn't there be an assurance, or?
You know, the biggest thing for us has always been to have them out during fireworks and. You know, do we have the contract for that purpose or? Just have to do the contract all together?
Okay, so what are other options for an official person to help us with the fireworks?
You know, I mean, we could make a request to him if he's got a boat available to do it, or, you know, let the DNR know we're doing it.
But isn't there a security issue in terms of keeping people out of the bay?
That's far enough back, yeah.
We got a big boat.
Not that big.
Oh, our boat's not big enough?
Well, I mean, it is, but you gotta have the uniform that goes with it.
Oh,
Because you're not
You can buy them
dealing
on Temu.
with entirely sober people.
oh, yeah, good point. Okay, so just having our boat, not a few people would not do it. Okay. Okay, but don't we should have somebody for the fireworks.
Well, that's the issue. So if we're doing the fireworks,
We have to do the contract.
well, part of it. You may not want to do only just part of it. Cause didn't they fund a lot of stuff? They funded their dive team or something?
I don't know what they've done.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they know what they've done.
Okay,
I
get it,
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, why don't we explore it anyway? You know, find out what they're thinking.
Well, I mean,
If they're gonna have, well, like you said, Joe, they have to have.
right,
the people.
well, and that's, it's laid out, I mean, it says, $4,000 for 5 dedicated shifts for the 3 months listed. Or 4 months, pardon me, June, July, August, and September. You want them here for the fireworks, that's one, but I mean, that's, if we just want them for 4th of July, I mean, that's only 20% of that contract as far as, money spent.
Well, I think it's good if they're here for Memorial Weekend, Labor Day.
Right, if they have appearances, that's.
Right, but we don't know when he comes, and it's up to his discretion, right?
And rarely is it a holiday weekend because we're not as high a priority as other things.
Right,
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't have the manpower,
You know,
either.
Yeah, the fireworks show would to be a must. If they can't do the
Yeah.
fireworks show, then
Yeah.
We're not.
no, that, yeah, well, that too, yeah.
right, but I mean,
So how about half the contracts, is that what you're saying, Joe?
well, I mean, it just depends on our assurances, like, if we want them all here during Memorial Day, if we want them all here during the 4th of July, that should be part of that contract. That they're gonna cover selected,
Yeah.
times that we want, I mean, and then if there's 2 or 3 that are optional for them, that's fine, but if we're paying a set price for 5 shifts of patrol for us, we should be able to have assurances that we have them here for a minimum of 2 of those, if we want them here Memorial Day and on the 4th of July. $4,000 is a noble amount of money for, 5 shifts, especially if we don't get to choose.
And in the past, the only time they have come for sure is the fireworks. The rest of the time they show up when there's nothing else on the calendar.
Right.
Just a random weekend.
Yes, yes,
That's usually raining or something.
yes,
There's no one out
yes,
there.
I agree, yes. So we don't get the best coverage other than fireworks.
So you just wanna pursue just for the 4th of July?
I'll talk to the sheriff.
Yeah,
See what he
talk to him and
says.
see what he says. Okay. Public comment? Seeing none, council comments? Seeing none, announcements? Tim will be gone, what, Friday?
Next 2 days.
Next 2 days. And our next meeting will be on the 3rd Tuesday of the month, correct?
Yeah, I think it's April 15th. I think it's tax day.
Tax day.
That third or second?
I'm pretty sure it's 3rd.
All right,
See.
any other announcements for the good of the order?
Nope.
Seeing none?
Just the third.
I mean, for all
How much of the